Good morning. Let us start the class of lecture of optical fiber communication DET 3202. So course outcomes are the student will be able to understand the different communication media, various blocks and applications of optical fiber communication system. The students will be able to understand the optics rules and measure the optical fiber cable parameters. The students will be able to identify suitable optical source for a given application. Students will be able to identify suitable optical detector for a given application. Students will be able to identify suitable connectors and measure the losses in the optical fiber cable. The students will be able to understand architecture of optical communication network, okay, as a given application. Next is the characteristic of optical fiber optical sources. Optical sources are of three types: continuous spectral sources, which are having white light, all the wavelengths are there in the as a emitted and radiated wavelengths. And example is incandescent line. Incandescent line. It is light. It is not monochromatic. It is not coherent. It is not directional. And the size of the light is in meters, whereas the optical fiber is in a micrometer. Not compatible. Second source type of the source is monochromatic but incoherent light emitting diode. Monochromatic and coherent laser diode. So according to our previous slide, this we are revising very quickly because we have discussed this many times. Major requirements of the sources. Size of the source should be configurable and configuration is to be compatible with launching light output, and light output is highly directional. Must accurately track electrical input signal to minimize distortion noise, so that a source should be linear. For that, source should be linear. To track the electrical input, source should be linear. Should emit light at wavelengths where the fiber has low losses, low dispersion, and at which the detectors are efficient, preferably capable of simple signal modulation over a wide bandwidth extending from audio to gigahertz. Next requirement is source should be must couple sufficient optical power, because optical power has to overcome the attenuation of fiber, attenuation due to connector losses, and sufficient power, adequate power should be there so as to drive the detector. Source should have very narrow spectral bandwidth, it is called line width, narrow bandwidth, in order to minimize the dispersion in the fiber. Dispersion gives losses. Source must be capable of maintaining stable optical output. That means ambient conditions like temperature. It is to be comparatively cheaper, cost effective, and highly reliable in order to compete with conventional transmission techniques. Then we know optical source is related with optics, and optical energy is in the form of photons, small energy bundles. Photon is a discrete packet of energy bundle or quantum. Interaction of the line with matter takes place. Semiconductor mm, substance, and it is get absorbed and radiated to the matter. So quantum theory suggests that atom exists in only in certain discrete energy level, like conduction energy level and valence energy level and other energy levels, low orbit energy levels. Absorption and emission of the light causes the atom to make the transition from one discrete energy state to another, like from conduction to valence, from valence to conduction by radiation as well as absorption. And same is shown here. The principle of working of optical source. The source can absorb very small amount of a small number of photons, but source is having a large number of emissions, spontaneous emission and stimulated emission. But detectors are majorly absorbing the photons and converting into electrical charges. So initial state is shown here and final state is shown on this side, right hand side. So in absorption, whenever the photon of energy HF is absorbed, then charged particles goes from lower energy state to higher energy state. And final state is in the conduction state. In spontaneous emission, whenever already charged particle in higher energy state and randomly it jumps from higher energy state to lower energy state, it emits this much amount of energy difference in conduction to valence, and that is in form of photon itself. And third one is stimulated emission, in which the charged particle already in conduction state and external photon interacts with that charged particle, and external photon is having energy equal to band gap energy. In that case, the external photon fetches out the energy from the charged particle. Charged particle, it makes to release the energy from the charged particle. That's why charged particle jumps from conduction to valence state, and the emitted energy as well as the interacting energy photons are having same value. That means they are having same wavelength. They are in the same direction. So highly directional beam is created, and they are having same phase and polarization. They are having same phase. So they are coherent. So same chrome, same wavelength and same phase. So they are monochromatic, single color, same single wavelength and coherent, and this is observed in laser. It takes amplification also. One photon generates one more photon. One photon doubles. Again these two photon doubles makes 4, and then 4 makes 8, 8 makes 16. So this is called amplification, and it is observed in light amplification with by stimulated emission of radiation laser, whereas spontaneous emission is observed in LED and stimulated emission is observed in laser. Then principle of working of optical source. The absorption and emission of radiation, in which the frequency of absorbed or emitted radiation F, frequency of absorbed and emitted radiation F is related to difference in energy E. How much this difference is? This difference is between higher energy state E2 and lower energy state E1. So E is E1, E2 minus E1, and that is amount of energy radiated HF, where H is Planck's constant 6.626 into 10 raised to minus 34 Joule second. Then principle of working of again optical source absorption of the light. Consider two energy state, conduction state energy and valence state energy, and system is atomic system, and the atom is initially at lower energy state. So outermost electron is in the valence state. Atom is in the lower energy state. Outermost electron is in valence state, E1. Okay. When the photon with energy E2 minus E1 is incident on the atom, okay, that photon of value E2 minus E1 is absorbed by the atom, or the energy is given to the charged particle, and it goes into higher energy state from lower energy state. From E1 it goes to E2, through the absorption of photon. This is the process of absorption. Similarly, the in principle of working of source, the emission and radiation of the light of the or photon. We again consider two energy state or two energy level atomic structure. Again, the atom considered as in higher energy state. Instead of lower, now atom is in the higher energy state. Outermost orbit electron is in free state, conduction state, having the conduction energy. It can make transition. This atom can make transition from higher to lower energy state, from E2 to E1. That means the charged particle electron, which is in conduction state, jumps into covalent bond and goes into valence state. And in that case, it releases the energy by emission of a photon. It releases the energy by emission of photon at frequency correspond to E equal to E2 minus E1 equal to HF. So this F is the frequency correspond to E2 minus E1. That is band gap energy. And the emission of light or photon takes in two types. One is spontaneous emission, second is stimulated emission. Then principle of working of optical source. Again, emission of radiation of light, photon. Two types are there. First is the spontaneous emission, and in spontaneous emission, in which the atom returns to the lower energy state in the entirely random manner. So it jumps higher to lower in entirely random manner. So it is random in nature. The spontaneous emission process is random in nature. So spontaneous emission process emits light by electronic transition in large number of atoms. So very large number of atoms transit from higher state to lower state. So that's why large number of photons are emitted. And it gives incoherent radiation. So emitted photons are random. That's why they are not in phase. Therefore, it is incoherent. And this process is observed in where? In device LED. This emission process is in semiconductor mechanism for light generation is observed in LED. So optical fiber communication, we continue with principle of working of optical sources. Again, the emission of radiation in form of light or photon. Second type, there are two types of process. Second type is stimulated emission. So this we are revising. This we have discussed many times. Very quickly we are revising. In stimulated emission, again, when photon is having energy equal to energy difference between two states. So there is an atom having the energy state E2 and E1, band gap energy is E2 minus E1. Whatever the band gap energy is there, same energy external photon is interact with the atom. Same energy, band gap energy, the external photon is having the energy equal to band gap energy of the atom. And then that photon interacts with the atom. External photon having the energy E2 minus E1 interacts with the atom in the upper energy state. Atom must be in the upper energy state. That means outermost electron is in the conduction state. That is causing that atom to return to lower energy state. Atom returns into lower energy state, and the conduction state electron jumps from conduction to valence, emitting and creating a second photon. So one photon is interacting photon, and generated photon in the atom is second photon. So there are two photons. There are two photons. One is original interacting photon and second is emitted photon. So this second photon is emitted. So atom emits the photon in identical energy to the incident photon. Okay, incident and emitted photon are having identical energy. Identical, same energy means same wavelength. So it is monochromatic. It is having light of stimulating and stimulated photon. Now the stimulating photon is their external photon, and stimulated photon is that is radiated photon. Now instead of single interacting photon, it has become two photons. Now it is having the light of stimulated photon in phase. So it is coherent. So light is in phase, it is coherent. So this is coherent radiation. And as this is coherent, these two photons adds the incident wave and radiated wave, liberated wave in constructive manner. Because it is in phase, the addition is constructive. Okay. And this constructive addition provides what? Amplification. It supports, both the photons support each other. They do not cancel each other. So that's why it is amplification, addition together in constructive manner. If you have studied wave theory, there are two types of the additions. One is constructive, one is destructive. One is cancellation, one is addition. So this is amplification. So light amplification with stimulated emission of radiation is nothing but laser. So this stimulated emission is observed in laser, light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So this construction of junction we have seen last lecture. So these are the uh, symbols used: field circle, empty circle, circle with negative, circle with positive sign, and electron hole acceptor and donor ions, acceptor ion, donor ion. And in p-type, large number of acceptor ions are there, and large number of holes are there, and very small number of electrons are there. In n-type, large number of donor ions are there, large number of electrons are there, and very small number of holes are also there. When junction is formed, the junction holes from p-type and electrons from n-type neutralizes the material on other side of the junction, either side of the junction. And this process continues till these electrons cannot cross, and these holes also cannot cross this depletion layer. So then depletion layer stabilizes, and this depletion layer further avoids the recombination of electrons and holes on stable state, and this neutralizes. It do not conduct the electrical energy. When it is forward biased, then only it can conduct the electrical energy. An energy diagram, if you see, the energy levels are shifted in p type in one direction, n type in other direction due to doping, and Fermi energy level is in, whenever not biased, is very straight as shown, equal average energy level, and holes are having always valence energy state here in p type as well as n type, and electrons in free state are always having conduction energy state in p as well as n type. Now the conduction energy state of p type and conduction energy level of n type, they are having the difference, and that is called potential barrier. Conduction energy state of p type and conduction energy state of n type is having difference, and this difference is called potential barrier. That means these electrons are having barrier, obstacle to jump, to go from this area to this area, n area to p area. And they have to overcome this potential barrier. How they can overcome? By taking extra energy equal to potential barrier. If the electron energy is raised from here up to here, then they can go into other region. Or the conduction energy of this is lowered and conduction energy of this region is raised, and this both can be done with help of applying the bias voltage. So if bias voltage is applied, then these conditions can be changed, and this is observed in this figure. Okay. This is observed in this figure where the spontaneous emission is taken place whenever there is a forward biased PN junction. There is a PN junction, but it is forward biased. Okay. Then spontaneous emission takes place. So whenever there is a application of positive voltage on this side and negative voltage of battery on this side, this is called forward biasing, because this is N type region, this is P type region. P type is connected positive of the battery, N type is connected negative of the battery. This is forward bias. Due to that, what happens is it lowers the energy state like this, and Fermi energy level is now becomes in this way, and it takes the uh, donor energy level to higher level. Okay. And it reduces the potential difference. This difference in the conduction state of the P and conduction state of the N get reduced, and then these electrons can easily jump from this side to this side. Again, the potential difference or external power supply provides the electrical energy to these charged particles to raise the energy and go. They can go into other side. So this is the effect of biasing. Okay, due to biasing, the difference, potential difference or potential barrier gets reduced. Okay, rearrangement of conduction energies takes place, as well as uh, valence energy, both rearrangements have taken place, and potential barrier remains very small, and the external power supply gives the energy to these charged particles, and it raises the energy of the charged particle so that charged particle can cross the junction. Okay. Now, whenever some number of holes cross the junction, some number of electrons cross the junction, then electrons are available in the P region, holes are available in the N region, and there are already majority charges as electron in N and hole in P region. Then the electrons in P region and already available holes in P region, they recombine, and electron jumps into the empty covalent bond by releasing the photon. Similarly, the electrons available in N region also, conduction state electron, and the holes in the N region, they recombine, and they also releases the energy as a photon. Okay. So this photon, if release of the photon, radiation of the photon generates the optical energy. Now this jumping in the covalent bond of electron or recombination of electron hole pairs takes place randomly, spontaneously, without external interference. External photons are not interacting. Then this is called spontaneous reaction, spontaneous emission. And as this is spontaneous and random, it is not having any phase relationship. So different photons are with different phase. Therefore, it is random. Therefore, it is incoherent. But all the photons are having same amount of energy, HF, and therefore HF is nothing but Hc upon lambda. Therefore, lambda is same. That is, color is same, that is wavelength is same, chrome is same, so it is monochromatic, and it is observed in LED. So what is this property in LED? It is monochromatic. But it is incoherent. So this is the forward biased PN junction. Forward biased PN junction. Now, spontaneous emission mechanism, this also we have discussed in previous lecture. Till this slide, I think we have covered. Spontaneous emission mechanism, in which the Energy is released by electron hole recombination. Energy is released by electron hole recombination, and that is equal to band gap energy Eg. That is equal to band gap energy Eg. Whenever there is a recombination of electron hole pair, these are two types of the recombinations. Electron hole pair recombination are of two types. One recombination is radiative, second is non-radiative. Means one recombination emits the photon, whereas one other type of the recombination do not emit the photon. But these non-radiative recombinations are very less in optical sources, but they are there. So radiative recombination are large in number, non-radiative recombination are less in number. What do you mean by radiative recombination? When your electron hole recombination takes place, it emits the photon only. What is non-radiative? It do not emit the photon in recombination. It emits the energy in other form. Which form it releases energy? The energy released or given out by charged particle is dissipated in the form of lattice vibration, mechanical energy, and then finally it is get converted into thermal energy, heat energy. So it is not in optical form. So it heats up the lattice structure, semiconductor structure. Okay, but this is very less in number. So what we call as efficiency, it is efficiency, isn't it? So whatever amount of charged particles we are providing, out of those, suppose 85 charged particles recombinations are giving photon, and 15%, 15 charged particles are not giving photons. So what is the efficiency of conversion electrical to optical is 85%. Okay, it is called 80, efficiency. Okay, that we'll see afterwards. So there are two types of the recombinations: radiative recombination, non-radiative recombination. So radiative recombination energy is released in light photon equal to band gap energy Eg with frequency f, and it is given as Eg is equal to hf equal to hc upon lambda. Now this Eg equal to hc upon lambda is written as lambda equal to 1.24 divided by Eg for our easy calculation process. For our easy calculation process, we can convert this equation in this form. So to convert in this form, we have to remember only one number, 1.24. So lambda equal to 1.24 divided by Eg, or Eg equal to 1.24 divided by lambda. But in this equation, we have to take Eg in electron hole and lambda is in micrometer. Lambda is taken in micrometer and Eg is taken in electron hole, because it is very simple. Because if you substitute H as 6.626 into 10 raised to minus 34 and C as 2.998 into 10 raised to 8, and if you keep the lambda here, or we can say lambda equal to on one side, then it is Eg. Suppose this is lambda equation. We forget this now for some time. So this is lambda equal to 6.626 10 raised to minus 34 and 2.998 10 raised to 8 divided by Eg. Now, how to substitute Eg? We have to use SI unit everywhere. We must get lambda in meters. We must substitute Planck's constant in joule second, isn't it? And we must substitute the velocity of light in vacuum as meter per second, and we have to substitute Eg in the joule. We have to substitute Eg in the joule. But the unit of energy is joule or earth. It is correct. Unit Now let us write something on the top side of this slide. So energy is having unit, energy unit is joule or earth. Okay, but these energy values are very large as compared to the energy associated with atoms or electron charge particles. Charge particles are having so less amount of energy in form of joule. If you want to write, this goes to 10 raised to 9 minus 19, 10 raised to minus 18, 10 raised to minus 20. That much of details, 10 power is required. So every time in calculation, if you want to take 10 raised to minus 19, 10 raised to minus 20, 10 raised to minus 10, it becomes tedious. To simplify these formulas, the energy unit for the atomic structures is device. One more energy unit is device, that is electron volt. Now, how much is the electron volt? This electron volt energy is very small energy, which is associated with the photon, band gap energy, the conduction state energy of electron, valence state energy of the electron. Very small, 10 electron volt, 5 electron volt, like that. But if you want to write 2 electron volt or 5 electron volt, suppose 5 electron volt, if you want to write into joule, how will write? 5 electron volt is converted into joule as 5 multiplied by 1.6 multiplied by 10 raised to minus 19 is like charge of 1.6 10 raised to minus 19, value of charge of electron. Like, so this, how much it becomes? 8 into 10 raised to minus 19 joule. Then we have to use 8 into 10 raised to minus 19 value in calculation. We have to substitute in joule, isn't it? SI unit. So if any value of the band gap energy or conduction state to valence state jump is 5 electron volt, then we have to use 8 into 10 raised to minus 19 joule value into calculation. This becomes tedious. So is it possible to use directly 5 value into calculation? Yes, it is possible. For that we have to make some rearrangement. Okay. Because we are knowing electron volt can be converted into joule by multiplying EV into 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19, and that is amount of joule. So this is the conversion. Okay. Similarly, other way around also, if you want to convert joule into electron volt, then joule divided by 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19, that much is electron volt. So energy in form of joule is available, then energy in form of joule is divided by 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19, it gets converted into electron volt. So these are the conversion formulas. Now suppose we have to substitute this 5 electron volt as it is into formula. But if you substitute 5, calculation goes wrong because we are having in this formula of lambda equal to hc upon Eg, h is in joule second, c is in the meters per second. So this is joule second, meters per second, isn't it? So we have to take this Eg is also in joule, isn't it? So if you want to substitute 5 electron volt into joule, what we will write? We will write 5 into 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19, isn't it? So we will write here some value in electron volt, 5 electron volt. Okay. 5 electron volt multiplied by 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. That much joule we are substituting here. But every time we have to substitute electron volt into this value, every time. So if we merge this value permanently into this calculation, other values, then we can substitute only electron volt value every time in the calculation. So let us rearrange this formula as 6.626 into 10 raised to minus 34 multiplied by 2.998 into 10 raised to 8 divided by 1.6 into 10 raised to 19. So let us find out the constant of this for all the values, and that constant comes as lambda equal to 12.4 into 10 raised to minus 7. And what remains? Eg in EV. Now we have to substitute Eg in EV. Electron volt value we have to substitute because we have absorbed here this 1.6 10 raised to 19 into the constant. Okay. Now we can substitute Eg directly in EV. Suppose you are asked to calculate lambda for Eg equal to 12 electron volt. You substitute directly 12 and not convert it 12 into 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. This 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 is already there in this number, isn't it? This already there in this number. Now this is the problem of EV is solved. But what is the answer? Answer is 12.4 10 raised to minus 7 divided by EV, energy. So this 10 raised to minus 7 is again there in the numerator, which is making slightly more complicated writing requirement, isn't it? Writing requirement slightly again becoming complicated. So this calculation gives the wavelength in meter, isn't it? Now suppose again 12.4 10 raised to minus 7 is written as 1.2 10 raised to minus 6. 12.4 10 raised to minus 7 can be written as 1.2 10 raised to minus 6. 1.24 say. 1.24 10 raised to minus 6. So one decimal point location is shifted to left side. So 10 raised to minus 7 becomes 10 raised to minus 6. Now 1.24 divided by 1.24 into 10 raised to minus 6. 1.24 divided by Eg in electron volt. Okay. Now this gives the value of the lambda in meters. If it is giving value of the lambda in meter, so if you cut this 10 raised to minus 6, how much value it will become? It becomes in micrometer. Okay. The lambda value will come in micrometer. So the formula becomes 1.24 divided by Eg in electron volt. So this formula lambda equal to 1.24 divided by band gap energy. This formula is generated from here. Okay. So this lambda equal to 1.24 divided by Eg, where lambda used is in micrometer directly and Eg is used in electron volt directly in this equation. This is the condition. Eg should be substituted in directly in electron volt and you will get lambda in micrometer, or substitute lambda in directly in micrometer, you will get Eg in electron volt. So this is simplification of the formula, nothing else that we have discussed yesterday also. So let us turn to next slide, and this is spontaneous emission in PN junction. This is spontaneous emission in PN junction. What you observe in this particular figure? There is a P type of the region, there is a N type of the region. So this is the P type of the region. This is the N type of the region. So this is P type region. This is N type region. So this is junction of P and N. Okay. This is PN junction. What is there in the P type of the region? P type of the region contains absence of electron, that is holes, and they are in the large number. So holes are in the large number. Here it is written holes. It is in the large number. N type of the region, it contains electrons. Here it is written electrons. So this field circle is electron. So electrons are in the large number in N type of the region. But this particular junction or crystal is biased. So for N type, just observe at this connector, it is minus connected, and P type region is having the connector, external connector, where a positive is connected of the battery, isn't it? So this is the biasing. Positive is connected to P region. This is the contact metallization. This is the contact metallization, isn't it? So this is contact metals, contact metallization. Okay. Similarly, this is contact metallization. So these wires, external wires, are connected to battery, positive and negative. So positive is connected to P region, negative is connected to negative of battery N region. So this is now become forward biased. It is become forward biased. In forward biased case, the electrons from N region get conducted into P region, and holes from P region get conducted into N region. So these holes are coming from P region, these electrons are coming from N region into P region, and as large number of electrons goes into P region and large number of holes goes into N region, the already available holes in the P region and these electrons get recombined. Again, the holes come into N region and they are already available electrons and these holes recombine. As these holes and electron recombine, that means electron jump into the empty covalent bond, there is emission of photon. So there is emission of photon. So all the electron hole recombinations emits the photon. All the electron hole recombination emits the photon. This emits the photon, and these all are photons. So this is also photon. This is also photon. Now these photons are emitted by from recombination of electron and hole. Hole is absent of electron. Electron jumps into that covalent bond where electron is absent, and then atom stabilizes, goes into stable state. Octet is completed. But while jumping into covalent bond, electron emits an energy packet, and that is equal to hf, band gap energy. This action of jumping is random. So it is taken. Suppose this recombination is taken now. After some time, this recombination takes. After some time, this may take. After some time, this may take. After some few microsecond, nanosecond, this may take. Or these two will take simultaneously. These two will take after some time simultaneously, and so on. This will take very fractional time difference. So it is in random fashion, and the emitted photons are having random direction, as you observed in the figure. They are not directional and they are not coherent. So this is the spontaneous emission. This is spontaneous emission. But all are having same amount of energy equal to HF. All are having same amount of energy equal to HF. And that is Hc upon lambda. So all the photons are having same wavelength. Therefore it is monochromatic. So spontaneous emission is monochromatic. But it is incoherent. So the emission takes place in the junction crystal, semiconductor crystal in this way. Now we have seen the junction structure, energy band of the energy diagram of the junction, in the junction formation. Then that junction is forward biased. Then what is the effect on energy band that we have seen? Then the junction crystal is forward biased. What happens physically with the charges and atoms and recombinations and etc. In the spontaneous emission we have seen. Now one very popular uh, process is to be carried out, and that is called population inversion. Okay, population inversion, which is required for sources to start radiating in large amount, and which is compulsory in the lasing action. Laser has laser action or lasing action. To have the laser action, to have the laser output, the population inversion is required. So, for stimulated emission, the population inversion is required in the crystal. So, crystal should have population inversion process. That is start the that will start the laser action or emission from laser device. So, what is population inversion? That we will check. Before going to the stimulated emission, what is population inversion? That we will check. So population inversion can be explained with the help of this particular figure, graph. So what is there in this graph is Boltzmann distribution with thermal equilibrium. It is the Boltzmann distribution. Boltzmann distribution of what? Boltzmann distribution of density of the atom on x-axis and energy on the y-axis. Density of atom N on x-axis, energy E on y-axis. And this dotted curve is called as Boltzmann distribution. What this Boltzmann distribution says is, suppose there are some number of atoms in the semiconductor crystal. Out of those number of atoms, some number of atoms are having the energy state E1 and some number of atoms are having energy state E2. What do you mean by that? Some number of atoms are in valence state, that means their outermost charged particle is in the valence state, and in other form some number of atoms are having E2 state. That means their outermost electrons are in the outermost charged particles are in the conduction state. So those atoms which are having the valence state condition are having number N1, and those atoms which are having conduction state are having number N2. That means N1 plus N2 are total atoms. Out of total atoms N1 plus N2, N1 atoms are in the valence state and N2 atoms are in the conduction state. That is the graph. So this is the energy level E2, this is the energy level E1. So N2 number of atoms or N2 number of charge particles are in the conduction state, whereas N1 number of charge particles are in the valence state. So this is the meaning of the graph. N2 number of charge particles are in the conduction state, higher energy level, and N1 number of charge particles or atoms are in the conduction state, that is lower energy state. And when it is there with thermal equilibrium, at thermal equilibrium. So in the name of this figure, it is given thermal equilibrium. It is in thermal equilibrium. So this is equilibrium state, stable state. It is stable state, equilibrium. Normally at a material, semiconductor crystal is normally like this. If you take any semiconductor crystal, normally it is thermal equilibrium like this. What is there normally? Any crystal, semiconductor crystal normally has large number of charged particles, large number of atoms. So N2 is less than N1, na? N1 is more than N2. So N1 is more. So large number of charged particles or large number of atoms are in the valence state, lower energy level, and small number of charged particles or small number of atoms, because this is density of atom N, small number of atoms are in the higher energy state E2. This is in the thermal equilibrium state. The thermal equilibrium condition. Normally it is observed. कुठलंही क्रिस्टल घेतलं की तुम्हाला असं दिसेल. Okay. And this number of atoms in valence state or lower energy state and number of atoms in higher energy state or conduction state, this is controlled by this particular distribution, this curve. If this is E2 and if this is E1, this will continue up to curve. So as where this touches the curve, that is the number of atoms in the higher this particular energy state. If this is the energy state, what is the where it touches the curve, that is the number of atoms in that particular state. Suppose any other material is having conduction state here, valence state here. In that case, conduction state atoms will be this and valence state atoms will be this. So these are the numbers, N2 and N1. So this particular curve, the Boltzmann distribution, controls how the conduction state number and valence state number of the atoms exist into the crystal. So this is about this graph. And this particular Boltzmann distribution is observed in normally with thermal equilibrium state. Okay. So under thermal equilibrium, what is written in here? Now I will give seminar. I will read the slide. Under thermal equilibrium by Boltzmann distribution, lower energy state E1 of the two atomic system contains, okay, two atomic systems are there, two atomic level system आहे, one level, second level, two level atomic system आहे ही. Under thermal equilibrium by Boltzmann distribution, lower energy level E1 of two atomic system contains more atoms. Lower level energy E1 contains more atom than upper energy level E2. Upper energy level E2 पेक्षा lower energy level E1 contains more atoms. For optical amplification, आता कंडक्शन स्टेट मध्ये जास्त atoms आहेत, सॉरी व्हॅलन्स स्टेट मध्ये जास्त atoms आहेत than conduction state. Who will give the optical output? Conduction state atoms. जे atoms कंडक्शन स्टेट मध्ये असतील ते व्हॅलन्स स्टेट मध्ये जंप करतील आणि फोटॉन इमिट करतील. बरोबर आहे ना? जे those atoms which are in the conduction state in the crystal, they jump into the valence state from E2 to E1 and emit HF photon. Then if conduction state atoms are very less, the photon emission is very less and amplification do not take place. Okay. For optical amplification, now again I will read this. For optical amplification, non-equilibrium distribution is required. Okay. Non-equilibrium distribution is required. For optical amplification, non-equilibrium. This is equilibrium distribution. This is equilibrium distribution. In equilibrium distribution, the conduction state atoms are larger than, sorry, valence state E1 atoms are larger in number. So large number of atoms in the valence state and small number of atoms are in conduction state. So this is equilibrium. And as the small number of atoms are in conduction state, to jump from conduction to valence, there are very less chances and very less number of photons are emitted. This will not give amplification. Then for optical amplification, non-equilibrium distribution of atoms is required. Okay. म्हणजे ही कंडिशन उलटी असायला पाहिजे, अपोजिट असायला पाहिजे. Higher energy state atoms must be larger in number and lower energy state atoms must be smaller in number. This is in equilibrium, non-equilibrium. असे असायला पाहिजे. म्हणजे large number of atoms in the higher energy state will jump into lower energy state and use large number of photons. And this is the amplification. So for optical amplification, non-equilibrium distribution of atomic population is required. So that means the population of upper energy level is more. Population of upper energy level is more. Population of atoms. Population of atoms in upper energy level is more than the lower energy level. म्हणजे in equilibrium condition, N2 is very less than N1. But now in non-equilibrium condition, N2 must be larger than N1. N2 in equilibrium case, N2 is less than N1. But in non-equilibrium case, N2 must be larger than N1. N2 is conduction state number, atom number, and N1 is valence state atom. So number of atoms in conduction state must be larger than number of atoms in the valence state. असं जर non-equilibrium, if this type of non-equilibrium is generated, This is known as population inversion. Population of the atoms is inverted. Okay. Regularly, generally, population is having conduction state less number of atom and valence state more number of atom. This is generally equilibrium state. If it is converted into non-equilibrium state distribution, then conduction state number of atoms N2 becomes large than valence state number of atoms. And this is called atom populations inversion. So this is called population inversion. So what is population inversion? So population inversion is the process in which there is a non-equilibrium distribution of the atoms and the number of conduction state atoms are larger than number of valence state atoms. So this is population inversion. Number of conduction state atoms are larger than number of valence state atoms. So this can be seen in this particular figure. So this is the population inversion. Population inversion in two energy state level 16, and this figure shows non-equilibrium distribution. Non-equilibrium distribution with population inversion. So this is population inversion. So what we observe in this figure, again on x-axis density of the atom N, on y-axis energy value E. Now this is the Boltzmann distribution. Okay. The dotted curve is Boltzmann distribution. And energy level E2 is this, again conduction state energy, and energy level E1 is this, valence state energy. But now conduction state energy level atoms, number of atoms in conduction state energy level is larger than number of atoms in valence state energy level. Okay, N2 is larger than N1. So this is population inversion. What is population inversion? Whenever the conduction state number of atoms in the conduction level or conduction state are larger than number of atoms in the valence state energy level, then it is called population inversion. This population inversion is seen here. Actually, for simplicity, we are talking in terms of number of atoms. It is density of atoms in crystal, because the atoms in the crystal, the dimension of the laser diode or LED is very very small. Suppose 10 micrometer by 10 micrometer, 5 micrometer by 5 micrometer, 5 micrometer by 5 micrometer by 5 micrometer. Total volume is 125 micrometer, cubic micrometer. But so small device will have very very large number of atoms, isn't it? So number of atoms we cannot measure, but density of atom is, in terms of density of atom we can talk. So density of atoms in conduction state must be larger than density of atoms in the valence state. This is called population inversion. So if I read this, for population inversion, the atoms are excited into upper energy level E2. Okay. How it is achieved? In thermal equilibrium, valence state atoms are more and conduction state atoms are less. So this is equilibrium. If you manufacture a crystal device, diode, laser, and put on table, this is always there, thermal equilibrium. And what is thermal equilibrium? Conduction state atoms are lesser and valence state atoms are more. So this is whenever there is a standstill device. So this is thermal equilibrium. But if we make it population inverted, how it will be? By exciting the atoms into upper energy level. Exciting the atoms into upper energy level is called pumping. That means large number of atoms are pumped into upper energy level. So this is called process of population inversion is called pumping. Okay. And how it is done? This population inversion is done using an external energy source. So if we connect external energy source, then that external energy is absorbed by a large number of atoms, and these atoms will go from lower energy state to higher energy state. Large number of atoms goes from lower energy state to higher energy. This is pumping of energy into the semiconductor crystal. That's why it is called, this process of population inversion is called pumping. So it is pumping of energy. Which type of energy? Which type of energy? For pumping, intense radiation, for example, optical flash tube, or high frequency radio field can be applied. For pumping, optical flash tube can be applied, which applies suddenly high intense light on the crystal. That light will be absorbed by the crystal. It is source crystal. Source can absorb light, that we have seen in previous slides, isn't it? The source material can emit as well as absorb. Detector material can absorb as well as emit. So, whenever the intense flashlight is made radiated incident on the crystal, those intense light, large number of photons are absorbed by the crystal, and by absorption, large number of electrons are get released, or large number of atoms are lifted from lower energy level to higher energy level. So, pumping is nothing but giving intense radiation by optical flash or by high frequency radio field. With the help of radio field also, you can give the energy input. Radio frequency is also energy. So radio frequency radiation can be given. Okay. Or even thermal pumping can be done, optical pumping can be done. Every type of the energy can be used for pumping. So optical energy is used for pumping. Here semiconductors have population inversion with applied bias. In the diode, semiconductor laser diode, the population inversion is obtained with applied bias. This is very very important. म्हणजे पंपिंग आहे किंवा पॉप्युलेशन इन्व्हर्शन आहे, दॅट कॅन बी डन विथ very intense optical flashlight or radio frequency. But in case of semiconductor, here the population inversion is achieved with, or semiconductors have population inversion with applied bias voltage. Only we apply laser diode, the bias voltage, population inversion takes place. So pumping is due to potential difference or external voltage source. In semiconductor, pumping is due to voltage source. By connect the battery, the electrical energy pumps the electrical source pumps the electrical energy and takes large number of atoms into higher energy state, and population inversion takes place. So pumping is also achieved with electrical energy. So pumping can be achieved with optical energy, pumping can be achieved with radio energy, thermal energy. Similarly, pumping can be achieved or population inversion can be achieved with electrical energy source. So in case of laser diodes, pumping is achieved with population inversion is achieved with application of bias voltage. So this is population inversion. What is population inversion? Population inversion is nothing but large number of charged particles or large number of atoms are in conduction state, higher energy level than the number of atoms which are in small in number in valence state or lower energy level. So in population inversion, lower energy state atoms, number of lower energy state atoms or valence state atoms are less, and number of higher energy state or conduction state number of atoms are larger. So this is population inversion. It is achieved with external pumping, and it is possible with any type of the energy source. In laser diode, it is the biasing voltage which achieves the population inversion. So this is the laser structure. I think we'll continue this laser structure and laser amplification, how the laser amplification takes place tomorrow. So this is about the population inversion. Up to population inversion we have discussed. So I think you are able to understand these theoretical concepts. Based on these theoretical concepts, there will be examinations. Possibly examinations will be MCQ type. So based on this theory only the questions will be asked. And if hopefully if there is a written examination, again the question, short question, long question are on this theory. So examinations will be on this theory as well as the uh, numericals which we are solving. Okay. So we'll meet tomorrow at again 8 o'clock. So we'll leave to today. Okay. Thank you.